Salam sejahtera anda bersama saya Naila Huda dalam Cerita Jam ini. Berbaki hanya beberapa hari lagi sahaja sebelum bekalan pertama dos vaksin COVID-19 tiba di Malaysia. Hujung bulan ini, ia diharap dapat meredakan sedikit penularan wabak selepas negara kita menyaksikan merekodkan kes positif dengan angka 4 digit hampir setiap hari tahun ini dengan kes kematian juga kekal dengan angka 2 digit sejak beberapa hari lalu. Dengan itu, kami di Astro AWANI banyak membawakan laporan tentang rakyat Malaysia yang sudah menerima dos vaksin di negara-negara lain, antaranya dengan vaksin buatan Pfizer dan ada juga AstraZeneca sebagai contohnya. Dan kebanyakan diaspora Malaysia yang telah mendapat suntikan vaksin ini, kebanyakannya terdiri daripada petugas kesihatan. Namun, dalam cerita jam ini, saya nak bawakan kisah yang berbeza. Seorang rakyat Malaysia yang bermastautin di London, UK, baru sahaja menerima suntikan vaksin COVID-19 bukan kerana bekerja sebagai petugas kesihatan, tetapi kerana peranannya menjalankan kerja kebajikan. Vinayagan Priyasami yang bekerja sebagai penganalisis kanan sistem di London juga sebahagian daripada pertubuhan World Shirdi Sai-Baba Organisation. Antara kerja kebajikannya termasuk menyampaikan bekalan makanan kepada golongan yang kurang berkemampuan, ada juga termasuk beberapa pelajar Malaysia sendiri, dan Vinay sudah bersedia menerusi Skype untuk menceritakan tentang pengalamannya menerima vaksin COVID-19. Terima kasih Vinay bersama saya dalam cerita jam ini. Boleh Vinay kongsikan kepada penonton kita dahulu, sudah berapa lama bermastautin di London dan bekerja sebagai apa di sana? Ceritakan sedikit pengalaman Vinay di sana.
Terima kasih Naila. Thank you so much to Astro AWANI for having me today. First of all, I'd like to say congratulations to everybody in Malaysia. So I have a great celebration. Of course, I've been here and also before that, and I'm minta maaf kepada semua sebab bahasa saya dah berkarat sikit. So hopefully, I'll try my very best. We can mix up both languages. So I've been here dah 21 tahun, dah lama dah. I datang sini sebagai student in year 2000 and then on I was working. So what I've been doing here is actually I've been working as a volunteer to many charities here, especially this World Shirdi Sai-Baba Organisation in East London. So since the pandemic last year, they were giving food. Many students, especially Malaysian students and also foreign students, they're dependent on the part-time jobs to cover their courses. So, but because of the lockdown, the opportunity for work is very less. So they were struggling, and we noticed a lot of students who were struggling. So during this time, we thought, okay, few other Malaysian volunteers who have been here for a long time, we decided to support these students, not only Malaysians, also the local communities here, by giving food regular basis until today.
Vinay, pastinya apabila berada di barisan hadapan on the ground dapat melihat golongan kurang berkemampuan ini, pastinya melihat first hand mereka antara yang paling terkesan menerima impak COVID-19 ini. Bagaimana ketika ini situasi penularan COVID-19 di UK yang kita tahu juga telah pun mula mengedarkan vaksin, melancarkan program vaksinasi pada Disember lalu. Jadi sudah lebih 2 bulan sekarang ini, bagaimana situasi di sana?
Okay, so situasi wabak COVID-19 is quite bad still compared to many other countries. As you know, until now, 113,000 people have actually died due to that COVID. And the situation of infection also is still ongoing. But the good news is, compared to last month, every day we were having nearly 60,000 infections per day. So which is like a very scary number for anybody really. So tapi sekarang dah kurang dah. So as of yesterday, the infection rate was about 14,000, but still very, very high. But these numbers have come down significantly in the last 2 months. Because kerajaan UK telah pun approve 3 vaksin, mainly Pfizer BioNTech, and also Pfizer BioNTech is actually a German and a US vaccine, and then Oxford and AstraZeneca, which is purely UK vaccine, and also Moderna. Moderna is also a US vaccine. So these 3 vaccines they approved in the UK, so they are using this and distributing. So the vaccine, so the government has actually prioritized the category of group who can actually receive these vaccines. Mainly golongan frontline, they are the first one to receive, so especially the nurses, the doctors, and the care worker in care homes, they get it as well. And then they have age categories by 80, over 70, over 60, plus those have, so like that, they have 9 categories. So the government sort of worked out these 9 categories actually contribute to 99% of the deaths. So, what they did is they want to reduce the number of deaths as quickly as possible. And they also worked out the first 4 categories, which is basically the front lines, the elderly people, especially from the care homes, and other people who have got the underlying issues. They have targeted these first 4, which contribute to 90% of the deaths. So the government has said they want to vaccinate these people first, the first 4 categories, by 15th of February. So this category actually consists of 15 million people. 15 juta orang actually they fall onto this category. So as of now, the UK government already vaccinated 13.5 million. So this is the first reason why we think the spread of the virus is reducing, especially within these first 4 categories. And the second thing is, of course, government has been very strict now with the lockdown. And before, there was a bit of flexibility in terms of lockdown. But this lockdown from 5th of January, the government has been very strict, and the enforcement has been very strict too. So, and due to this reason, you can see the numbers from 60,000 on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Walaupun turun ke 14,000, but still, still a lot.
Ya. Vinay, nampaknya UK sudah pun jauh mendahului negara kita, Malaysia, yang baru saja menjangkakan tibaan vaksin COVID-19 ini pada hujung bulan ini. Sama juga di sini, kami akan mengutamakan golongan petugas kesihatan yang berada di barisan hadapan untuk menerima vaksin. Sama juga di UK. Tetapi untuk Vinay berbeza, Vinay juga telah pun menjadi antara individu pertama terima vaksin COVID-19, menjadi frontliner juga, tapi frontliner kerja-kerja kebajikan. Boleh Vinay ceritakan bagaimana proses mendapatkan vaksin itu? Mungkin ada membuat permohonan ataupun ditawarkan kerajaan, dan bagaimana rasa dapat menjadi antara individu pertama menerima vaksin ini untuk kerja-kerja kebajikan yang dijalankan di sana?
Okay, so obviously vaccines, macam I beritahu tadi, so a lot of people are struggling, communities are struggling, especially they call it, they have 2 categories, non-white category as well. So the vaccine, the virus spread is quite widely in non-white communities, especially in East London. So the government, they have initiatives to support this community or the local minorities who they actually suffering a lot due to virus, this pandemic really. So we've been distributing food since April last year. So obviously the local government and also NHS. NHS is basically National Health Services. They have seen the work of the Badan Kebajikan, the World Sabab Organization, and they actually recognized the work that we do, especially our volunteers who've been braving themselves, even though the virus is spreading very fast. And besides, we have lots of variants, and yet the volunteers are still out there and doing their best to support the communities. So obviously the local government recognized that, NHS have recognized that. So we just went to them, and they also came to us. They saw us when we were actually distributing food, and they said, there's such program, we really value what you do for the communities. And straight away they said, okay, just give your names, who your key frontliners, you will provide the vaccine. So that was the surprise news, and obviously a very, very exciting news as well. And the recognition they gave for the volunteers was extremely good. I think, I'm sure in Malaysia they should do this as well. I'm sure a lot of Badan Kebajikan di Malaysia sedang buat kerja-kerja kebajikan. they must be prioritized as well, because this Badan Kebajikan obviously support a lot of big communities in Malaysia. And so, in that sense, I think Malaysian government should do that too.
Ya, sangat menarik Vinay menceritakan tentang kerajaan di UK. Mereka sedar bahawa pentingnya peranan mereka yang berada di barisan hadapan ini bukan sahaja dalam sektor kesihatan tetapi kerja-kerja kebajikan. Dan menarik juga apabila Vinay menceritakan tentang impak yang diterima oleh golongan etnik minoriti di sana. Kajian-kajian sebelum ini juga menunjukkan golongan etnik minoriti di UK antara golongan yang paling terkesan dan berisiko dijangkiti COVID-19. Dan di Malaysia juga, kalau kita nak lihat sedikit paralel persamaannya, kerajaan di Malaysia juga telah pun baru saja umumkan golongan warga asing yang bukan warga negara juga layak menerima vaksin secara percuma di negara ini. Dan Vinay tadi berceritakan pentingnya untuk petugas barisan hadapan dalam sektor kebajikan ini terima vaksin. Bagaimana Vinay rasa peranan golongan pekerja dalam kerja kebajikan ini, peranan mereka dalam pandemik COVID-19 ini, pengalaman Vinay sendiri di sana, apa pentingnya menyampaikan, memastikan bantuan itu masih lagi dapat disampaikan meskipun dengan cabaran SOP dan sebagainya?
So, cabarannya, of course, the volunteers, from the volunteers' point of view, there are variety, different age categories as well. So we have very young volunteers, we have middle-aged volunteers, and we also have elderly volunteers. Of course, they are especially the elderly ones. The virus is actually impacting those elderly. Those have the underlying health issues. So from that point, the biggest challenge is actually keeping the elderly safe. But at the same time, because of the lockdown, mental health is affecting them. So there are people who want to do something, but then they are very scared to go out because of the virus. So we, from the charity point of view, we had to make lots of effort, lots of SOPs, lots of PPE that we need to provide to these volunteers, simply because we want to support the community. At the same time, we need to protect ourselves. We don't want to expose ourselves to the virus in the name of kebajikan, right? So in that sense, we worked very hard with other volunteers and the management team, and we spent a lot of money to buy safety equipment and making sure the food processing, food distribution, and even the collection of the food, packaging of the food. It was all done in order as per the SOP, so that it gets distributed safely and for the needy, really.
Ya, Vinay, mungkin boleh ceritakan juga kerja kebajikan yang dijalankan di sana. Saya difahamkan antara golongan yang menerima bantuan bekalan makanan di sana menerusi pertubuhan Vinay itu, antaranya termasuk pelajar Malaysia sendiri yang berada di sana. Dan saya dulu pernah menjadi pelajar di East London, di London Timur ini, dan saya faham bagaimana situasi sosioekonomi di bahagian itu. Mungkin Vinay boleh kongsikan situasi pelajar-pelajar Malaysia yang pernah mendapatkan bantuan bekalan makanan di sana. Bagaimana situasinya? Adakah mereka lebih terkesan ketika pandemik ini?
Wow, very good, Naila. You've been to London and studied here, which is a very good. So, of course, in East London, is very concentrated with ethnic minority, and of course, we do have a few universities which are very well-known universities in London as well, and a lot of Malaysians, as far as I know, from my days when I was a student here, a lot of Malaysians study in these universities. So when the first lockdown happened back in March last year, it was a sudden shock to everybody, especially students also. They can't come back because no airports was closed down. There's no travel. They can't travel to even neighboring towns. So, and then suddenly, and the restaurants were closed. Even there was a confusion whether grocery shops, corner shops, whether they can open or not. So, a sudden shock to full ecosystem of on a normal day-to-day life. So people were struggling, and especially students, they're dependent on a part-time job, like I said. And so income was less, they have to pay rent, even to get money from the bank is difficult, banks are closed. So suddenly they were like lost, don't know what to do. So this was the time, and then we realized, okay, we know there are a lot of Malaysians here, and some of the volunteers, as I said, they received vaccine as well through this organization. We all got together with the local team, local volunteers here in London, and we said, okay, it's not just the people here, students especially, and I can share you, they were like very eye-watering to see. There were long queues here. I would say a good 500 meters long of queues. People were queuing to take food. So this is like very sad moment in my life. This I've never seen in my life. Situation like this happened. So this was a situation that really encouraged us to do more for the students. First we thought, okay, the local people are actually struggling. Then as days go by, we realize these are actually students who are struggling because no food, no money, they need to pay rent, they need to pay accommodation, they need to study, and but everything, all the avenues for them to do things on a normal day, it's all been shut down because of lockdown.
Yeah.
So of course, yes, I know for a fact that a lot of Malaysian students actually benefited from these initiatives.
Ya, Vinay, kita berbaki 1-2 minit sahaja. Vinay sudah pun menerima vaksin COVID-19 di sana dan Vinay menerusi kerja kebajikan memahami keluh kesah golongan yang kurang berkemampuan ini. Boleh Vinay kongsikan sedikit kata-kata semangat bagi kami di Malaysia yang masih lagi menantikan vaksin dan berharap situasi COVID-19 ini dapat reda tidak lama lagi. Kata semangat sedikit, Vinay.
Okay, so vaccine, so when we got the news, is very exciting news. Because to receive a vaccine is very important. But of course, a lot of people out there still dalam confusion. Nak ambil ke, tak nak ambil ke. So, but my advice to you is very simple. So this is how we made decision that we want to go ahead and take this vaccine. I know a lot of information out there confusing you and making you, don't know what to do. But of course, if those days when we were young, we took the vaccine, we takut untuk jarum saja kan. Tapi sekarang we takut for safety. But this was my decision, and how we did it was actually, if you don't take vaccine, the risk of getting COVID is extremely high. No matter what category you are young, elderly, or whatever, doesn't matter. If you don't take vaccine, you're exposing yourself, very badly.
Yeah.
But if you take vaccine, then there could be a risk, but the risk is very, very minimal and is calculated. So my advice to everybody is think about this, working out the risk, and I encourage you to take vaccine because end of the day, the safety is number one.
Ya. Baik, terima kasih Vinayagan Priyasami, rakyat Malaysia di UK yang menceritakan pengalamannya menerima vaksin COVID-19 sebab menjadi seorang pekerja dalam sektor kebajikan, berada di barisan hadapan bukan dalam sektor kesihatan tetapi peranannya masih penting di tengah-tengah pandemik COVID-19 ini. Jangan ke mana-mana, selepas ini kita akan menceritakan pula tentang sambutan Tahun Baru Cina di Sabah yang masih lagi meriah meskipun berada dalam norma baru, tapi kita akan berhenti seketika kembali selepas ini.